It's been a little while since I updated here, and I figured I'd go ahead and share a project that I've been working on for a friend. He's a big rotary phone fan, and he's been having some trouble with his gateway to the between the rotary phone and the rest of the telephone network, not recognizing the rotary dial very well. And there are some off-the-shelf items that can be used for that, but he's been having some poor luck with that, and I said, well, let me see what I can do about that. So here is an example of a rotary phone, obviously, attached to a microcontroller board. And I've got a power supply down here providing us with 48 volts, which is typical for a telephone local loop. And that's going up here to an opto-isolator. So there's a 48 volt side of that, if you will, on the input, and then there's a 5 volt side of that that's being fed into the microcontroller. And for those of you who don't know, when you have a rotary telephone like this, what you're really doing when you turn the knob here is setting up a ratchet that, when it unwinds, pulses your line the equivalent times to the number that you try and dial. So if you go in here and put a 6 and let go, it'll pulse the line 6 times. So what I'm doing is essentially just counting those pulses over here, which is actually a little bit harder than it sounds, because there's a lot of kind of logic involved in terms of it needs to be a long enough delay that you know it's an actual pulse, but not so long that you actually just hang up or you're sitting with the phone off the hook or something like that. And you'll notice over here that I have the LED display, the 7-segment display, showing the last, or essentially the number that was just dialed. Well, since it's on hook, of course, I just put a little dash there. Excuse the shadow in there. I'm trying to deal with some kind of crummy light. And I also have the decimal point there that indicates whether it's off hook or on hook. So if I go ahead and take this off hook here, I should say that I've been having some problems with debouncing, and for those of you not familiar, that's essentially when a switch transitions from one state to the next. There's a little bit of jitter, and that sometimes gets picked up as an extra digit. So let's see if that happens here. I'll go ahead and try and dial a 3. Okay, and that worked properly. You see the 3 appeared on the 7-segment display. 7. Well, it's treating us so far so good. Maybe a 5 there. Yep. And again, really all that's, oops, that one was a misfire. That was a 9 and it read a 0. And I'll actually dial a 0 and it should hopefully stay the same. Yep. Again, I'm just counting the pulses across the line, and for the most part, it's getting the numbers pretty accurately. I'll do a little bit more logic here to clean that signal up. But it's definitely a good start, and mostly I was just trying to prove out the interface, making sure that I could read a 48 volt line without blowing anything up, which is always a good first step. So there you go. Hope that was interesting, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more on the project here in the near future.